You didn't make a mistake. You didn't fall out of alignment. And the universe is not testing you. It's preparing you. Picture this moment. Everything you've carefully constructed begins to unravel. The plans that once felt rock solid start dissolving like sugar in rain. People you counted on drift away like leaves on autumn wind. The structures you built begin crumbling, so quietly you almost don't notice at first. Your mind tries to rationalize it as just a phase, then wonders if you've somehow misaligned, then starts to panic. But what if nothing's going wrong? What if something profound is being realigned? What if what looks like delay is actually sacred recalibration? What if the version of you who could receive what you've asked for is finally beginning to emerge, and everything that isn't compatible with that frequency is being moved out of the way? Here's the part no one tells you about manifestation. When you begin vibrating at a new level, even slightly, the quantum field begins to reorganize your life to match. And that reorganization can look like complete chaos. You feel like you're moving backward. The vision seems to slip through your fingers. But what's really slipping is the identity that no longer resonates with your next timeline. The confusion, the disappointment, the discomfort aren't punishments. They're signs that the field is adjusting your external reality to match the frequency you've been calling in. That's not misalignment. That's momentum. It hurts though. The pain of surrendering what once felt safe cuts deep. The ache of trusting something invisible feels overwhelming. The grief of becoming someone new, without fully knowing who that someone is, creates a disorientation that touches your bones. You're not just letting go of outcomes. You're letting go of emotional blueprints. You're releasing the part of you that learned to survive through control. The part that believed effort equals worth. The part that thought stillness was weakness. And that part doesn't leave quietly. It clings with desperate fingers. It negotiates with your fears. It resists with everything it has. Not because it's wrong, but because it's terrified. It was never designed to thrive. It was designed to protect you. But protection isn't what you need anymore. What you need now is trust. You're not stuck. You're suspended between identities, standing in the doorway between who you've always been and who you're becoming. That space feels uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. Your old coping mechanisms don't work here. Your old mindset can't follow you into this new territory. The universe, the field, knows this, so it waits. It waits for you to become coherent, not just emotionally, but vibrationally. Because the field doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your frequency. And when that frequency is filled with contradiction, with desperation disguised as affirmations, with control disguised as strategy, the field can't deliver. That's why nothing seems to work when you're trying too hard. Because trying, in energy, is often resistance in disguise. You're not supposed to force your way forward. You're supposed to feel your way into alignment. That alignment doesn't come from perfect rituals. It comes from becoming still enough to recognize where you're leaking power, where you're doubting yourself, where you're outsourcing your peace to some future moment. That's where preparation begins. Not on your vision board, not in your to-do list, but in the space between your thoughts. The stillness beneath the striving. The deep breath that says, even if I can't see it yet, I know something is shifting. What if this isn't a delay? What if this is the exact moment your frequency is stabilizing into a new reality? What if this is the detox before the embodiment, the pruning before the bloom? What if the universe isn't holding you back, but holding space for the real you to emerge, the one who can hold the life they've been asking for without collapsing under its weight? That's not a test. That's trust in action. That's the field doing what it does best, reflecting your readiness. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're being softened in all the places where fear hardened you. You're being emptied of the noise that kept you chasing what was never meant to stay. You're being stripped of the illusions that told you weren't ready yet, because now you are. This stage doesn't feel magical. It feels raw, lonely, uncertain. But this in-between, this sacred discomfort is the threshold of change. The moment your old story becomes too small and your new story hasn't fully formed. It's the pause before the leap, the silence before the shift, and it's where your real power starts to surface. When the field senses that you're no longer trying to rush your way into alignment, but are willing to sit inside the space it's creating for you, it responds not out of obligation, but out of resonance. It starts to shape a reality that reflects your new center, your new stillness, your new truth. So if things feel unstable right now, let them. If things feel slow, heavy, or foggy, trust it. It means you're entering the part of the process that matters most, the becoming. And the field, conscious as it is watching, listening, calibrating to your next frequency. Because something in you has already shifted, and now reality is just catching up. There's a misconception that the universe sends tests to see if you're worthy. But the quantum field doesn't test. It responds. It doesn't need to measure your strength. It reflects your signal. And when that signal shifts, even slightly, everything built on your old frequency begins to dissolve, not out of cruelty, but out of coherence. The field doesn't ask, "Are you ready?" It listens to your energy and answers, "I hear you. Let me reflect that." And that reflection isn't always immediate. Sometimes it looks like things getting worse before they get better. Not because you're failing, but because your old foundation is being replaced. Your external reality always lags behind your internal vibration. So when you change your emotional baseline, when you stop broadcasting from fear, from scarcity, from not enough, the field pauses. It doesn't punish you. It recalibrates. And that recalibration is what most people mislabel as being tested. You're not being evaluated. You're being upgraded. And every upgrade requires a clearing. Just like the body purges toxins during healing, your energy field purges what no longer resonates. Old habits, relationships, ideas, roles all begin to fall away. And the space between letting go and receiving the new, that's where most people panic. That's when the fear creeps back in. The mind doesn't like emptiness. It wants to fill it with stories, with blame, with timelines. But the field loves emptiness because emptiness is potential. Emptiness is pure signal. Emptiness is where the collapse of new reality begins. This is quantum truth. Every time you emit a new vibration, you are telling the field what you're ready for. And if your external life doesn't match that vibration yet, it begins to shift. But first, it has to dismantle what doesn't belong. That dismantling isn't destruction. It's alignment. You're not losing what's meant for you. You're losing what can't follow you. And yes, that can look like chaos. Because anything you once clung to for identity, anything you once needed to feel safe, is being questioned by your new vibration. This is why manifestation often comes after the storm, not before it. Because the storm shakes loose what you wouldn't have let go of willingly. It pulls you out of old loops, relationships, jobs, cities, timelines, not to punish, but to prepare, to make room, to purify your signal. Because when your signal is clean, the field has no resistance. It doesn't hesitate, it reflects. But until that coherence settles in you, until your being becomes more still than your mind, the field waits, not out of delay, but out of devotion. It waits for you to stop forcing. It waits for you to stop pretending. It waits for your frequency to stop flickering between doubt and trust. Because the field doesn't collapse based on words. It collapses based on vibration, and vibration doesn't lie. So when things fall apart, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this making space for?" Don't assume rejection. Assume redirection. Don't resist the silence. Learn to listen through it. Because the silence between realities is where timelines are rearranged. And if you can hold your center through that silence, if you can stay coherent while everything uncoils around you, the field has no choice but to meet you in the new frequency. Joe Dispenza teaches that the quantum field is a mirror for your internal state. But it's not a passive mirror. It's intelligent. It's alive. It senses your fear. It senses your trust. It senses when you're pretending. And it senses when you've truly surrendered. When you no longer need the outcome to feel whole, that's when the outcome begins to form. When you stop grasping and start anchoring, reality bends. But anchoring takes presence. It takes stillness. It takes courage to sit in the in-between and say, "Even here, I trust." Because the moment you stop trying to fix, prove, or control your reality, your frequency becomes still. And in stillness, there's clarity. And in clarity, there's access. And in access, manifestation stops being something you chase and starts being something you align with. You're not failing because things are falling away. You're succeeding at a level deeper than your ego can measure. You're becoming resonant with the life you once had to imagine. You're becoming the version of you who no longer has to ask if it's working, because you already feel the shift in your body. That's the moment the field takes you seriously. That's the moment it stops responding to your rituals and starts responding to your being. And that being, your true self, is not trying to force the future. It's inviting it. There is a space between letting go and receiving. A strange, quiet space where nothing seems to be happening. You've done the work, you've felt the shift. You've surrendered. And then silence. No signs, no evidence, just emptiness. But that emptiness isn't a mistake. It's not a delay. It's the recalibration zone, where timelines are rewritten not by what you do, but by who you're becoming. Most people mistake this space for failure. They panic. They retreat. They try harder. They dig up the seed to see if it's growing. But the quantum field doesn't reward impatience. It responds to coherence. And coherence requires stillness. That's why this moment, this uncomfortable, invisible, unglamorous stretch is the most important part of the process, because it reveals whether you trust your frequency or just perform it. You're not stuck. You're suspended, floating between timelines. The old one is fading. You feel it. The new one isn't here yet. You sense it. But something inside you already knows. This space is sacred. This is where the subconscious reprograms. This is where emotional signatures dissolve. This is where your system stabilizes in a new identity before reality reflects it. Yes, it feels strange, like being no one, like not knowing what to do next. That's because your identity is shifting. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet fully who you're becoming. This is what spiritual maturity feels like. Not fireworks, but integration. Not epiphanies, but consistency. The field is watching, not with eyes, but with resonance. It's listening to the quality of your silence. It's sensing the shape of your vibration when you're not trying. Because when you stop pushing, your true frequency emerges, and that's the one that creates. Neville Goddard called it the Sabbath, the time of rest between assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and seeing it manifest. He said, if you persist in the assumption, it will harden into fact. But persistence isn't effort. It's vibrational stability. It's when you stop needing proof and become the proof. It's when you stop looking outside for confirmation, because your body already knows the answer. So if you feel like nothing is moving, good. It means something deeper is aligning. It means the surface is quiet because the foundation is shifting. It means your system is learning how to hold the new without collapsing into the old. It means your timeline is recalculating in real time, and your only job is to stay coherent. But coherence isn't perfection. It's honesty. Can you stay present without trying to escape the discomfort? Can you hold the frequency of trust without evidence? Can you allow the timeline to form around your being, instead of chasing it through force? This is the quantum pause. The field is waiting for you to stabilize before it collapses. It's waiting for your signal to become consistent enough to create. And that consistency isn't measured in intensity. It's measured in ease, in peace, in how lightly you hold the vision, in how little you need to grasp it. Because the more you grasp, the more you tell the field, I don't believe it's real. And the field reflects that belief, not your words. So stop grasping, start anchoring, start living the vibration of already. Start walking like it's done. Not for the field, for you. Because when your nervous system finally believes it's safe to receive, the field responds immediately. This is where the breakthrough lives. Not in the doing, but in the being. Not in the outcome, but in your readiness to hold it. That readiness isn't proven by rituals or mantras. It's proven by your emotional neutrality. When the outcome no longer defines your worth, that's when it arrives. When your joy isn't postponed until it happens, but accessed now, that's when it manifests. When you stop bracing for disappointment and start living from alignment, that's when the new timeline locks in. The quantum isn't slow. You're just still stabilizing. Let it take the time it needs to match the precision of your request. Let the unseen rearrange. Let the silence speak. Let the space you're in, no matter how uncomfortable, become your training ground for trust, Because trust is the energy that collapses reality faster than anything else. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. The more you try to force change, the more resistance you feel. The more you chase the next step, the more it slips away. That's not failure, that's feedback. Because the quantum field doesn't operate on pressure. It moves in response to resonance. And resonance comes not from urgency, but from surrender. But surrender has been misunderstood. It's not giving up. It's not passivity. It's choosing coherence over control. It's deciding moment by moment to trust the timeline your soul already chose, even if your mind doesn't understand it yet. That's real power. And it's that power that stabilizes your field. So, how do you cooperate with the quantum when everything feels out of sync? First, you stop interpreting discomfort as danger. Most of what you call fear is just unfamiliarity. You're not scared because something is wrong. You're scared because something is different. Because you've started to emit a new frequency, and your nervous system hasn't caught up yet. That's not sabotage, that's integration. Let it happen. Second, you stop asking, how do I fix this? And start asking, what part of me is still resisting this? Because trying to fix what the field is already rearranging only adds noise to your signal. The more you interfere, the more you delay. But when you breathe, soften, release, you become magnetic. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally still enough to receive. Abraham Hicks offers clarity that cuts through the confusion. You can't be in receivant mode and resistant mode at the same time. It's not about intensity. It's about allowing. And allowing isn't passive. It's incredibly intentional. It's the decision to trust that alignment works even when you don't see it yet. Trust isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a frequency you choose, especially in the moments that feel most uncertain. That's when the universe listens the closest. Not when you perform trust, but when you embody it. What does that look like in practice? It looks like waking up and not asking what's missing, but what am I radiating? It looks like observing your thoughts without believing all of them. It looks like noticing the tightness in your chest and softening instead of spiraling. It looks like holding the same peaceful energy, whether the manifestation has arrived or not. Because the field doesn't just want to give you what you want. It wants to see who you become while waiting. That's the preparation. That's the training. Not in punishment, but in precision. Your nervous system is the antenna. The cleaner the signal, the clearer the response. That's why things fall apart before they fall into place. Because you can't manifest from a place of inner war. The field won't collapse a new reality around an old vibration. It will wait patiently until you stop vibrating from memory and start vibrating from now. That's the key. And it's in the now that your future is decided. Here's a simple shift you can make today. Instead of asking for proof that it's working, become the evidence. Instead of needing a sign to feel aligned, let your alignment be the sign. Instead of waiting to feel safe once the outcome appears, become the space where safety already lives. You don't need more steps. You need more stillness. You don't need another affirmation. You need permission to feel how far you've already come. You don't need to do more. You need to stop resisting who you're becoming, because who you're becoming is already aligned. You're just learning how to meet them in the field without fear. So take a breath. Let this land. If your path feels unfamiliar, it means you're on the edge of the old map. And that's where all new realities begin. If the silence feels loud, good. It means the field is listening. By now, something in you has shifted. Not because you got a new answer, but because you remembered an old truth. You're not being tested. You're being trusted. The universe is not watching to see if you'll fail. It's rearranging your reality to support who you're becoming. Sometimes that rearrangement feels like resistance, like silence, like pain. But it's not punishment. It's preparation. You've asked for alignment. And now the field is cleaning out anything that can't hold it. That's why it hurts. Not because you're wrong, but because you're shedding the parts of you that were never truly you. The expectations, the masks, the timelines you outgrew but kept clinging to. The field is precise. It only responds to the truth. And when your truth becomes louder than your fear, the field moves. That's what you've been feeling, not failure. Activation. The slow, deep emergence of coherence inside you. the stabilizing of your nervous system in a new identity, the subtle calibration to a version of you that no longer needs to perform. Just be. That's the shift. That's the preparation. Because receiving isn't about deserving. It's about readiness. The universe already wants to give you everything you've asked for. It's just waiting for your field to be clear enough to receive it. And that clarity isn't in your words. It's in your frequency, your emotional signature, your willingness to soften instead of control, to trust instead of chase, to anchor instead of prove. It's no longer about asking when will it happen. It's about living from the energy that says it's already unfolding. Because that belief, when embodied, collapses timelines faster than any ritual. You were never meant to force. You were meant to feel. You were never meant to hustle for alignment. You were meant to remember it. You're not here to earn your manifestations. You're here to resonate with them. Sometimes that resonance takes time. Sometimes it takes falling apart. Sometimes it takes sitting in the silence longer than you thought you could. But on the other side of that stillness is something powerful: stability. Not emotional spikes that burn you out, but deep, grounded, magnetic alignment. The kind of alignment that doesn't need attention because it already knows. The kind of coherence that doesn't need proof because it has already become the evidence. And when you become the evidence, reality bends. The field responds. Things begin to move again. Not because you pushed, but because you stopped. You made space. You breathed. You stayed. You softened. You surrendered without giving up. You trusted. And that trust became your signal. A signal so clear the universe couldn't ignore it. So powerful that timelines had no choice but to shift. So aligned that what once felt far away became inevitable. That's what's happening now. Right now. Not someday. Not when you're more ready now. So, if this message resonated with the part of you that's been quietly holding on, if you felt even a flicker of clarity or peace or remembering, then let this be your sign to keep going. Let this be the moment you stop chasing and start receiving. Let this be the moment you decide not to do more, but to trust deeper. Let this be the moment you anchor into the knowing: I'm not lost. I'm being aligned. This is your season of preparation.